establishing the entire process of what the 40-day will be, the roadmap. Then we're able to get into establishing few other things about what you need to do for example, as you're starting the new year. If you've not done anything in terms of setting a very good roadmap for yourself, it is not late. You can pick it up and start. And we're giving steps that can guide us through that. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, one more person. One more person. What were your key takeaways from yesterday's conversation? Susan, you want to talk? Or Demlade? Hello, both of you. Can you hear me? Susan and Demlade.
Good evening, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, great. So, what were your key takeaways from yesterday's session? You're muted again. Wow. Okay, it seems you guys don't want to talk to me. I said it yesterday. Yeah, please, Chris, I see your hand up.
Okay, I'll mention the second one. Something I learned from yesterday was that everything you do in life, if you're if you do it with precision, it can actually become the story someone else can read or watch that will transform the person's life. For instance, the 40 days that you're going to be taking us through this mentorship sessions are actually 40 years of your life. So each year is a day in our session. Each year of your life is a day in our session in the next 40 days. Yes, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. It's important that we take this lesson and hold to them. See, I'm saying this with all sense of duty because I wouldn't like you to just while away this 1 hour each day for the next now 38, 39 days. Because when you look back in the near future, you should be able to point out to this journey as part of things that defines your trajectory towards success. You must have attended several trainings, been part of several events and mentorship sessions like this. But what should be different? What should be a different experience? What should be a different note you're going to take out of this? It depends on you. And that's why if you go through the handbook, it's clearly, I mean, they are clearly outlined there, things that you need to abide with so that you can have maximum experience and take maximum opportunity of this. I hope, especially those who are not here at the moment, I hope they will not cultivate the habit of missing this session against all odds. Because what we're going to discuss today, even when you go through the video, might not be like as if you are here in the class. Okay, thank you once again, Chris. Let me share my screen so that I will go deep into, because from today we want to start looking at real life scenarios and things that will really help you. Of course, some of these things I'll be sharing with you are not totally new to you, especially if you already set out on this journey. But there are angles at which I'll be coming to drive home my points on the principles and the tools in order for you to be able to actualize your goals. So today, our focus is to look at self-awareness. Self-awareness, because every step that you're going to take along the way defines, please, I want you to take note, every step you're going to take along the way in your life's journey is going to be largely dependent on how much understanding you have about yourself. So usually the first step you have to take on the journey is for you to be self-aware, is for you to really know who you are. And yesterday I mentioned in passing about this, that one of the greatest service you are going to do for yourself is for you to realize yourself. Because if you don't realize yourself, then you might end up living another self. Okay? You might end up living another self. I mean, to everybody, they might still think, oh, it's still Bola that is living. But in reality, vis-a-vis your purpose, it's not you that is living, someone else that is living. I'll show you why this is important and how this are play, how you can easily, I mean, but I'm sure from this evening onward, when you begin to interact with people and engage with people out there, you will see the manifestation of what I'm talking about. And this will help you when you engage with people and communicate. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you can easily tell people's disposition and how to engage them. You know, sometimes I'm also being very careful, you know, in such a way that I don't begin to display some of my kinetic understanding about people, because that's the next level in self-awareness orientation, because you get to a point where you are so much aware about yourself, and then your understanding and orientation about yourself begins to define your environment. So anybody that comes into that environment, you can easily determine their portrait. You can easily analyze and systematically put them within a mold. So this is how life outplays, and you'll begin to see. Then the other thing about self-awareness is also going to help you to know areas where you need to work upon yourself. So part of what we'll be discussing today or look at is has to do with how to find yourself and know yourself. You know, there are some analytical tools that I'll show you. Then I'll give you one or two assignments. Don't forget the assignment yesterday, like I mentioned, none of you are submitted. Make sure you do it. And don't wait until when all the assignment accumulate, because it will be overwhelming at the end of the day. Each day necessarily have an assignment or something that you need to go back to do, because that's how you can practicalize and internalize the knowledge that you'll be getting from this session. So let's quickly look at self-awareness. And what I want you to do as you begin to understand yourself is for you to embrace your reality, because you are who you are, not by the virtue of what people say, though it's part of the process of you getting to know yourself, but not by the fact that this is what people call you, or this is what you think you know you are, but it's just who you are. You know, that's exactly what God has made you to be. So it's now left for you to understand what that is all about. The person that is called you or I. What is it all about? And intertwined in that pronoun, right? You, I, intertwined in it is where you find emotions, you find your strength, you find your passion, and all of these culminates, you know, to define the kind of growth or the level of growth at which you're going to be operating at every point in time. So what are the things that you need to understand when you are trying to discover yourself in order for you to be self-aware? The first thing is for you to recognize your emotions. You need to know your emotions, because if you don't know your emotion, there's no way you'll be able to control your emotions or manage your emotions. And I'll tell you one of the easy way by which you can know your emotion and recognize your emotion. We're going to look at it in brief, then I'll give you an assignment. Then the second thing is for you to understand your thought pattern. There's a way you think, and there's a level of consistency in your thoughts pattern, in your thinking, within your thinking faculty, that you need to observe and reflect on, because that also adds up to who you are. You know, it's just like someone who is get to using some certain particular cliche or set of words or sentences, right? Such a person is because of the pattern or the orientation by which the person thinks, because out of the abundance of their heart, mouth speaks, right? So everything comes from the process of your thinking. even before you take actions, you must have thought it through, right? Yeah, some people say, but what about those that act in reflex? Even when you do the kinetic analysis of reflex actions, is also still go through the process of, sorry, my phone, I didn't remember to put it to mute. Just a minute, please. You know. Okay. So, even the things that manifest in reflex when you take actions, in terms of your tendencies, in terms of your behavioral pattern, all of these things go through the process of thinking. So it's just the window or the period, what we call timeline, the phase gates through your thinking process is what differs. While some is just at the tip or at the snap of the finger, some takes a longer period, some takes a longer duration, while some is almost like immediate duration, like within few flip of seconds. But they all go through thinking process. So never come to terms with someone that will tell you that, oh, I didn't think about it. The person does not really understand himself or herself. So you see, I'm beginning to show you some realities now, because when you see someone, they tell, oh, sorry, I didn't know, or I didn't think about it. Not that the person did not think about it, but the person did not know that he or she thought about it, right? So, and once you are not aware of the way you think or what you think on or how you think, you will not be able to govern the action that emanates from your thinking process or your thinking pattern. So don't forget, you have to recognize your emotions, and the next thing is for you to understand your thinking pattern. Then following that is now for you to govern your behaviors. You have to govern your behaviors. There's this saying, I think I can't remember specifically now who originated that saying. I think I'm going to send it to us after the session, but I'll look for the person that actually said, but it has stayed with me for years. For years. I first heard it from one of Crefudola's messages many, many years ago, close to about 2 decades. When I listened to the message, he was talking about governing behaviors. And he talked about the fact that you should watch your thoughts, because they become your words. He said, watch your words, they become your action. Watch your action, they become your attitude or your habits or your behaviors. And watch your behavior, they are who you are. That for me is very profound and quite fascinating. You can see the process, you can see the progression. So when someone eventually show himself in public and like, this is me, this is high. I mean, or you introduce yourself, you share your short bio, people read about you, they see all those things, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's so many things that have gone into the resemblance, your reflection that people see out there. So it's not just the suit or the regalia you put on or the cap or the cape or the things that people see, which are just aesthetically pleasing in nature, or just the value in terms of aesthetics. No, that's not who you really are. Who you are follows that process, starting from your thinking process, how you think, okay? Because that governs your behavior. It governs your speech, which governs your behavior, and then your behavior governs your habits, right? And of course, your habits, your tendencies, your potentials, all of these things, represent who you are. So trust me, some people, when you see them, you don't necessarily have to even allow them to hack before you know who they are. I mean, this is a high level of intelligence when it comes to emotional intelligence. When you don't necessarily have to stay in a room for too long with someone before you understand who that person really is, because you already understand that progression right from the moment the person appears, right? You can begin to see certain patterns. So the question is now, I mean, let's just look at all these concepts and then narrow it down to yourself. Okay, what are those recognizable emotions? What are those level of emotions that you have been operating on? When you are looking at the level of your happiness, the level of your sadness, the level of your anger, your anxiety, your perplexation, the level of your, I'm sorry, perplexity, the level of your intuitive actions. You have to gauge all of these things, because as you interact with people, as you engage with people, and how you manage your interaction with people, all of these things are going to really tell eventually, reflecting the way you have been thinking. Okay. And also, when you are talking about thinking pattern, usually there are gateways into human minds. Okay. There are gateways into human minds. I'm talking about your thinking pattern now, gateways into human minds. You see those five sense organs, the opportunities for you to govern your thinking faculty. Your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your taste board, which is your tongue, then your hand that you use in touching and feeling. There are certain things that if you know and you were taught and you have been told, you're counseled rightly before now, you will have prayed never to have used your ears to listen to those things. Because in one way or the other, they are now part of what influences the kind of behavior you portray out there. You may not know, right? But by the time you act, don't forget last session yesterday, I told you there are 4 parts of every human being which you need to realize, you need to know. So when we are talking about this self, there are 4 parts of yourself that you need to be aware of. Number 1 is your known self. Number 2 is your unknown self. Number 3 is your blind self. And then you have your revealed self. So those 4 selves is what you need to be aware of that makes you who you are, right? And the things you allow through the windows of your eyes, the things you allow through the windows of your mouth, the things you allow through the windows of your ears, through the windows, of course, your mouth is where your taste bud is, right? Then the things you allow through the windows of your hand, through the feelings, the touch, and the things you allow through all these 5 gateways into your mind, you need to watch them. You need to be careful, right? Because you have more than enough negatives to deal with in life. You don't want to add to the docket within the negative buckets. You don't want to put more into the bag, and then begin to overflow. And that is why when you see some people misbehaving, people that you classify their tendencies and behaviors within the range of misdemeanor, within the range of being defaulters. Those kind of people, they are people who have been unable to govern the way they accept things. Guess what? I'm sure that after today, you now begin to take deeper knowledge or deeper consciousness, knowing what kind of songs you listen to, what kind of movies you watch, what kind of things you generally listen to, what kind of things you allow yourself to touch, to feel, because you have to guard your mind, you have to guard your heart so jealously, just like someone carrying pearls, carrying precious stones, you're carrying diamond, you're carrying gold. You know what it took for you to explore, mine, and refine the gold. So you don't want anything to happen to you. So when you go to a gold refining industry, you see the level of carefulness, you see the level of thoughtfulness in the entire process. And then before you now take the refined, finished product, gold itself, the gold bar or gold coin, into a safe haven that you call vault for you to be able to preserve. That's the same way you need to preserve your heart, the same way you need to preserve your mind, because this is one of the most precious treasure that God had imputed in you, which is meant to help you self-aware and also give you that direction on you understanding who you are in order for you to be able to live your life purposefully and meaningfully. So you have a lot of work to do, even as you reflect on your emotions, your behaviors, your tendencies, and of course, your passions and the things that you think you know about yourself, because that's the starting point, starting with what you know about yourself. So ask yourself this question: what exactly do you think you know about yourself? You will be so shocked. By the time you take the test and the assessment, the personality assessment I'm going to give you, I'm sure that you rediscover yourself and get to see from another perspective who you are, who you think you are. For non-self is a common knowledge. I mean, you know it because you've grown over these years, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades plus. You've grown over these years, seeing certain patterns which had repeated itself. An example is maybe you are very good at making decisions and you've seen over a period of time you have that tendency of making right decisions. Another example is you have this tendency of excelling. I mean, anything is just like a Midas touch. Anything you touch excels with or without much effort, right? It's just like everything in nature works in your favor. Anything you touch, it works. I mean, some of these things are inherent. Some of these things flow in the direction of your the way you govern your behavior and the way you govern your emotions. So these are known things because you can see verifiable results, outcomes, fruits, from those things. But what about the things that doesn't even reveal itself in terms of showing results? So you as an individual, the self doesn't know. Likewise, there are other people that know, and sometimes when they point that to you, which if is not in the direction of your strength, might be a weakness, and you just don't want to hone up to it. So part of what you need to do is for you to realize all these things, because it's going to help you. An example is someone who doesn't know how to talk, can just say anything, and you don't say anything wrong in just talking loosely and saying everything that is just in your mind. Some people will be so even so polite enough to tell you that let me say everything until I've said everything in my mind. There is that aspect of human governance, behavioral governance, that says that let your word be few, not all things in your mind that you need to say. So there has to be a balance in the way you govern your emotions, in the way you govern your thoughts, and know at what point certain things has to be communicated and when you just need to be silent. Because like the whole adage says that silence sometimes is the best answer that you give. So sometimes your words has to be few, sometimes your word has to just be mute silence, dead silence. So these are things that you need to understand if you truly want to know who you are. And again, another critical test, which is the simplest form of any test you may want to conduct on yourself for you to be able to prove truly who you are, is what we call the test of time. The test of time. Someone who hasn't lived well enough, at least up to age 40, cannot really use time to test. I'll give you a good example. If you are very good with using softwares, I don't know which of the softwares you are very good at. For me, maybe graphics, talk about BIMs, as building information modeling tools like AutoCAD, Revit, any of these Autodesk softwares. Or you go into artificial intelligence, you talk about Amira, you talk about Mordecai, you talk about Monica, talk about, just mention them. As good as all these tools are, as good as all these technology tools are, you can't claim deep knowledge about them except for the fact that you have used them over a period of time and you've explored almost every angle and dimension of that tool. Another example is your phone, right? If you just bought a phone now, you can't compare the knowledge you have about using that phone at that time when you just bought it, maybe first week, second week, one few months, compared to if you have been using that phone for over 5 years, right? Even if you have not used certain applications, the things on that phone that you've been using consistently, anytime anybody asks a question about it, you quickly go there. And the same thing when you have a car, you've been driving a car for over 5 years. There's nothing that is going to happen to that car that you won't have intuition or intuitive value about. So that is exactly how it works also in our individual lives. Because I used to ask people, if you understand these principles and how you relate with other things in life, why not the way you relate with yourself as well? So why don't you give yourself more time to be able to have that critical understanding about how things work in other spaces for you to apply into your life? So no matter how long you have lived, it's not a disadvantage. But they say a fool at 40 is a fool forever, because that seems to be the cap. Two scores seems to be the cap that it is assumed. Is a quick assumption and sometimes might be very costly, right? It's assumed that by the time you get to two scores, you should be able to get to the point whereby you can say to yourself that I know who I am. And you don't need any compare, you don't need any moderator, you don't need any other person to begin to tell you who you are, which is now your unknown self. You should have come to terms if you have been doing good work on yourself, you should have come to terms, be able to know who you are from both known and unknown perspective. Now we have the blind and the revealed self, which these two things then begins to journey with you for the rest of your life. I'm still going to touch them, but let me just also mention that part of the things that you will need to begin to consider, right, as you look at being self-aware, is for you to have an open heart. I mean, for whatever step you have taken so far in life, at this point in time, you need to pause and ensure that you open up completely your heart. Because if you don't open up your heart, it might be difficult for you to take in new understanding, new knowledge. It might be very, very difficult. Some people, I mean, it's just like someone that goes to class every day and is just all full of himself or herself and think that there's nothing new the lecturer wants to teach or something new that someone wants to tell him or her, right? Such a person does not have an open heart. And in the long run, the person will never come to terms with unknown self. So the person will just be walking at the dimension of the known self. And that will not suffice for certain things in life. Because by the time we begin to look at the assessment of your personality, you will see that these four angles, these four tangents of your life all come to bear in determining exactly who you are. Either you are looking at the areas of your strength, you are looking at the areas of your weaknesses, which defines both the opportunities and the threats that you will have to necessarily contend with in life. You will come to terms with these things. So very, very important and crucial. Um, I remember about 15 years ago when I first came across the concept of emotional intelligence. I mean, I was just curious. I read a lot, and it was in one of those books I read that Daniel Coleman, was talking about emotional intelligence. And I was very curious. I'm just like, I'm hearing this for the first time. Nobody ever told me that there's another level of intelligence, EQ, that one needs to attain. I've heard about spiritual intelligence. I've heard about personal intelligence. I've heard about academic intelligence, all of this, but I've never heard about emotional intelligence. But at that point in time, through my curiosity, I began to read a lot of books. I began to explore things, and I now see, oh, so this is exactly which talks about our mind, human mind, the heart of a man. It's there's so much. There's not just only science, but in reality, there is so much about life, both psychologically, spiritually, and also physically, that is ingrained in the heart of man that we all need to embrace. And that's why I keep saying you need to have an open heart in order for all the streams and channels that have been closed in your heart to be open. And then you can connect with your true self, because those are the angles to which all this truth will begin to make sense to you, right? So for me, I got to get to know myself when I conducted this first test many, many years ago. I call it a SWOT test. I remember it was Tim Lally that directed me here. I read one book by Tim Lally. I don't know how many of us are. I'm going to share this book with you, because if you've never read it before, it's a compulsory book you must read in this program. And that's Why You Hacked the Way You Hacked. It was written by Tim Lally. It talks about 16 dimensions of personality types, all combined into four major dominant personality types. You talk about phlegmatic, sanguine, melancholy. I'm just talking. I just want to be sure that all of us are following through. Please let me know if you are with me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir. The
agree.
flow is flowing, sir.
Okay, okay. So we have that four dominant personality types. You have phlegmatic, you have sanguine, you have melancholy, and you have choleric. All of these combining together produce about 16 combined or combination of personality types. So you need to know exactly who you are. And in the process of knowing this, then you have to use a SWOT analysis tool for you to assess yourself. And what does this SWOT analysis help you to do? It helps you to understand how to not just only know your strength, but how to maximize your strength, right? discover your weaknesses so that you can, not take advantage of your weaknesses. And I'm going to be very careful in outlining this to us, because this is what I see in many human relationships when people get to interact, either in business or in the social life or in other dimensions, even spiritually. People tend to get to a point where they become self-aware and begin to understand other people, and then realize their weaknesses and then take advantage of their weaknesses. This is usually the point of frustration for many people. When people come to me for counseling, when I have opportunity to speak to people on life, these are usually one of the key points, that brings about frustration, that brings about stagnancy, and brings about pains in people's lives. So I'm emphasizing it so that if at all you find yourself in this dilemma where you are trying to navigate between your strengths and weaknesses and you have not been able to deal with it, in this class today, you should be able to resolve that in your heart. Very simple. I'm going to give you as an assignment, because you will have to conduct it as part of the assessment you will do on yourself in trying to discover and knowing yourself, to be self-aware. Your strength is primarily meant for you to maximize, because they are what will produce quick results, what we call low-hanging fruit, right? They are low-hanging fruit for you. Your strength will point you to that direction that will give you quick results and define, at least in the simplest form, what success should look like. Talk about having the spirit of excellence. Talk about having exhibition of your sweet character, your admirable attributes, and your skill sets, which will give people value, quick value. These are things that your strengths are all about. You don't need to stress, you don't need to struggle, you achieve quick results on them. So you need to maximize that. You need to do more. When I'm saying maximize, you need to do more of that in the quick succession, because it will always turn to be positive for you. However, or in the same way, there are this other part of you that you need to reflect on a daily basis until you come to terms with it. Either they are in the category of the known, in the unknown, in the blind, or in the revealed self. You need to constantly reflect on them. An example is when someone, maybe you're having conversation, just like we're in the class here, like I can tell, if I'm to give a quick, brief summary between yesterday and today, that I've spent how many minutes now? Maybe this 40 minutes, yesterday 1 hour, about 1 hour, 40 minutes together in the same class without even seeing each other. I can give you brief summary about what I think are weaknesses of individual of you, right? And that to you will fall into the category of unknown self. So here is the gist. When you get a feedback from people through interaction, and there are different levels of interaction based on your closeness, based on the proximity, based on the defined boundaries that you have set for yourself. So you need to also be aware about that. Someone should not be outside of your boundary and then give you certain feedbacks and then you take it serious. There are certain feedbacks at different boundary lines that you need to also align with, right? So when you reflect on these things, what you're going to do is to now seek for opportunities where you can make necessary improvements on those feedbacks. The reason for feedbacks, even in business or in project management, is for continuous improvement, what we call Kaizen, is for you to be able to establish Kaizen in yourself. So those areas that you are maximizing strength, the truth of the matter is those strengths can always be optimized. So I came to terms after conducting this SWOT over my life, over and over and over again repeatedly. Guess what I do now with my weaknesses? When I get feedbacks, when I get comments, or I receive information about those areas of my life that is still reflecting, unknown self, or even the blind ones, because there are some that you are just totally, hot to it, and it will remain so. So guess what? I mean, you always receive that constant feedback. It's not because you are that terrible. It's not because you're never going to change. It's just because it is blind to you, and that's how it's going to be. And there are certain ones that is only God that will reveal to you and show you that this is what I want you to know per time about yourself. Putting all of this together, I came to realize that my weaknesses are not weaknesses as such, as we all perceive or as we see them. Okay, they are just pointer to show us that even when you fail, you have opportunity to get better at your strength. So I call them optimizers. So my weaknesses are not weaknesses. The more I reflect on my weaknesses, they become optimizers because they give me opportunity. Some things I've done in life is a result of my weaknesses because they made me challenge myself that I can, I can, I can. So that is how you will embrace yourself. Otherwise, you always see yourself as someone who cannot, and that cannot be who you are. You should remain who you are in all ramification. And then you begin to, once you have this orientation, then you begin to pursue more of opportunities. And in the same way, because you have changed your orientation from I cannot to I can, things that naturally will become like a risk to you, things that naturally will become like a risk to you, you can turn them into opportunity. So you can see the dichotomy between threats and opportunities. All those things, maybe your sad nature, your anxious dispositions, all of these things that naturally are your weakness. Any small thing like this, you're always agitated. Any small thing like this is always bringing sadness to you. Oh, you feel you are sad. Oh, these people will have to come and rally around you. You will need almost like 10 monarchs to come. So all those things, you now begin to harness all the power in nature for you to be able to optimize them for your own good. And this is how you're able to turn your risk and your threats into tools or things that will enable you to focus more on areas where you can be stronger and then achieve greater things. I hope you follow me up to this point. Hello,
Yes,
are you
sir.
there? Did you follow me up to this point? Oh, great.
Yes, sir.
Please, you can feel free to share if any of this connects to you. Please feel free and share with me, so that I'll be sure that we're on the same page. If there's anything that you want to share that applies directly to you, or if at all in past you've applied any of these principles in your life, and just to affirm how this thing works out, please you can share. Okay, so the other area is your passion. Don't forget, we are talking about you getting to know yourself. I've talked about your emotions. I've talked about your behavior, and I've talked about how to really understand these different areas by using SWOT tool, right? Then there's also this thing about passion. There's this thing about, I don't want to use the word God, but usually we say passion. We talk about uh, um, the drive. Yeah, we talk about a drive. That's what I want to convert passion into, because passion sometimes might just be a bastardized word, but there's something that every day when you wake up, it's more like a driver, or there are a set of drivers. What are those things? You need to identify them, you need to know them. And they are usually embedded in the activities you do on a daily basis. It might be maybe your interest that aligns with you, it might be things that just excite you, things that, anytime you see it, you are just happy. Don't forget, we are talking about dealing with emotions here again, right? So what are those things that even just me hearing it? I remember the time I used to play football. I was a very, very strong addict of football. I don't really watch football, so I never had a club I support. But when it comes to playing, oh my God, I can be playing football in my dream, you know. So each time weekend is approaching, like once is like Wednesday, Thursday, because we usually play football consistently Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday. Then once it's Monday, it's like football must end, right? So once it's getting close to weekend, I'll start daydreaming about football, right? Guess what? It got to a point that, I mean, each time I sleep, it's just football I'll be saying in my dream. I'll be thinking about the next move and how to score more goals and all of that, how to use new style. So when I get to the pitch the following day or that weekend, I want to try it out. I mean, I'm telling you how passion and how this thing can work out in the life of someone. And guess what? Anything I think in my dream or I kind of like fascinate about, and I know maybe sometimes it will come like a deja vu. I might just be sitting down watching movie or speaking to people, and some ideas will just come to my mind and it will just play out. And when I get to the field, I will start trying them out and all of that. Sometimes when I'm even walking around, I see people, I'm trying to emulate to see if I can use this style and all of that. to play football. These are what passion interprets to. Whatever it is that you're doing, you must always find positivity in them. If whatever it is that you're doing, right, whatever course you are following in life, and you cannot attribute positivity, you cannot attribute, this level of impact, both internal and external to it, then you can't call it a passion. Because this is a challenge I usually have with people when they define passion, when they define things that drive them, right? Whatever drives you should be able to produce essence in you, should be able to energize you and excite you to the point whereby you become almost invincible. And that is when you know that you have a passion, right? So it will get to a point whereby you don't even need to monetize the value that you get out of passion. You don't need to monetize the value you get out of passion, because you wake you up. If you are not doing it, it's just like you are not okay, you are not all right. So even if you are not doing it in the usual way, in the conventional way that everybody aligns with, you will always have time. You always find opportunity. You always find ways by which you want to express that God, how you want to express that, because it continually drives you. So guess what I usually tell people, and this is what I mean by you understanding yourself. Whatever it is you are doing in life, as long as it is a passion, you always find a space for it. Whatever it is, as long as it's a passion, you always find a place for it. Even when they take you from Earth to Pluto, or to Jupiter, or to Mars, to Saturn, to Uranus, anywhere in other planets they take you to, you will always, against all odds, even in the most difficult situation and terrain, you will always find ways. And these are the ways by which people define new paradigms. This is how people break new frontiers. This is how people break through all challenges against all odds and then become pioneers. They become inventors. They become, because passion will drive you to the point whereby impossible will become possible. And then you begin to do things that are transcendental. So this is the nature. So you can see that every human being has an iota of doing impossible things, but it's just because people have not gotten to that point whereby they realize the full potential and capacity they have within themselves. Passion will be able to help you achieve that. Passion is what will enable you, drive you to the point whereby you begin to turn your potential into fulfillment and success in life. So you need to identify and know this thing. So part of the assignment I'm going to give you is for you to alight and make a list of things that you think you're passionate about, things that, following this trend I explained to you, that drives you on a daily basis, that if you think they take every other thing out of your life, this will remain. If they put you in prison, this will remain. If they put you inside the ground, under the ground, this, as long as you have your breath in you, this will remain, because your passion will drive you to the point whereby you discover your potentials and then you turn your potential into value and success. Okay. What are the examples of passion you see? You see people in volunteering, where they volunteer for a particular cause, where they advocate for a particular cause. Some people, their passion is to travel, to explore, to see new landscapes. Their passion is just to bring satisfaction and value to people. Their passion is just to impact knowledge. I mean, people have different passion at different level, right? Some people are just passionate about a particular area of life or a particular discipline and all of that. So you need to know exactly the one that aligns with you, and that will help you. So what are the strategies for you to be able to enhance? There are quite a number of other tools, which, I just needed to show you so that in your own quietness, or in your own meditation, or your own further study, you can also embrace any of this. The one that I know is should necessarily be common to all of us has to do with journaling. By now, at the step you've taken so far in life, each of you should have a journal, your life journal. I have about 3. And at critical phases of my life, I tend to always revisit those journals. And guess what journal helps you do? It helps you take proper record of the progression of your life. Sometimes when I go back, and this is how you also determine with proofs, verify proofs, with verifiable proofs. These are how you will show data, show empirical data, about your journey in life. You go back and you check and you see, oh, when I was young, when I was doing this, at this stage of my life, when I was thinking, when I was meditating, these were so journal helps you, to grow and have this consistent pattern of how your life need to be fashioned, right? So journaling is very important. If at all you have not done that so far, because you're in this program, please, you need to get a journal and start that. It's not too late. Unfortunately, you didn't, document your past, but you can start from the present and onward, right? The other one is the way you document communication, and we call it feedback loop. Sometimes you do this in a formal way. Sometimes you also do it generally, in order for you to, like, after we've had conversation, maybe you release people, they come back, you always want to ask the question, okay, exactly what is your comment? I mean, it can just be as simple as that. So you give people benefit of that for them to be able to have this expression of their perspective. Because if you don't take other people's perspective, you will never come to know your known self and your blind self. So you just be working at best in the dimension of your known self and the revealed self, depending on how much of spirituality you embrace, right? Then there's also this mindfulness practice, which usually helps people. Some people are so good with yoga, people are so good with some other means of meditation, right? But you need to be careful the type of mindfulness practices that you're engaging, because especially when you combine it with emotional intelligence, one can easily stray away, one can easily get off. So that's why I won't take you into, because mindfulness is a different knowledge area entirely. So I won't want to go deep into that scope in this program. So maybe subsequently in the near future, as much as we continue to relate, I can take you into the dimension of mindfulness and then share with you some tools that will make you to stay in line and not get derailed. Someone going to astronomism or going into yoga or going into some other sense of Confucianism and all of that. Then we also have goal setting tools, which I will show you in succeeding session. Okay, any questions so far? Any question? Any comments? Any area of application to yourself? Maybe someone wants to talk about your journal. Anybody? The way this class today is so quiet. I'm not feeling you guys though. Yeah, Chris, I can see your hand up. Please unmute.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Mine is not about the journal, yeah,
Okay.
but it's to actually align with the passion thing you talked about, because I'm currently in spirit counseling alone and I'm struggling with something, and my passion is almost going to affect my job here. So that's why I was very, very excited you're taking us through this particular issue. And it has to do with what I love doing, which is content creation. Yesterday, I introduced myself as a climate and sustainability journalist. And when I mentioned that part of me during my interview, it was one of the reasons why my employer hired me. But I am still struggling with the things I've established based on my passion. Like, I feel I have done that for like 10 years. How am I supposed to leave it because of my newfound job? So I'm struggling with that. I just want to let you know that what you're saying is something, is on point, and you have a witness in the house.
Awesome. Thank you for this. And trust me, I've been at that stage in life before where I have to differentiate between my self-aware pursuits, okay, which is driven by passion, and my pursuit for my daily income, which will substantially help me to survive. In this part of the world where we live in, it's about survival of the fittest. So they will tell you, man must chop, man must pay his bills. So how a passion substantially pay my bills and all of that. I mean, I've had a whole lot of this, but guess what? I want to give you this secret. Honestly, averagely, I'm going to dedicate a full session to talk more about this, but just to give you an inclination. averagely, I've done the research. I remember when I was doing my recent research last year together with a friend, a colleague. We're researching on corporate governance, and we took a survey in terms of we want to develop a model on leadership in corporate governance. So we took a survey and then we evaluated, certain CEOs in Africa, not outside of Africa. What I'm telling you is real life here in Africa, not outside of Africa. So we documented almost about 70 plus CEOs of, global companies and all of that operating in Africa and have franchises outside of Africa. And guess what? About 80% of these people, just to validate this principle I'm telling you, about 80% of them started out their pursuit in business. Started out their pursuit in business through volunteering. I'll give you a very close example. I'm not going to mention name. You can find out some of these things. A very good example of such person, the business the person was going to set up, that the person wanted to, knew this is my line, this is what I want to do. I don't need to go to school to succeed in doing this, but I just need to connect with essence in this industry. The person had to volunteer to work with someone who was dominating the industry at the time when he decided to start working there, and then started from just being like a gate man in that company because he wanted to learn, he wanted to have a profile that has been within that location before. So it started like that and it grew to the ladder. And now the person, as I'm talking to you, has one of the largest company in that same industry. I can go on and on and give you several other examples of people who just started, not necessarily that they are pursuing money, right? And I know someone will quickly ask, okay, what about his bills? How would they have to be paying his bills and all of that? I don't need to ask them, but I can use myself as an example. I remember every drive on passion always have a cost that you will pay. And this is how you know true passion. Anything you're pursuing that you think is a passion that doesn't cost you is not a true passion and is not worth driving you. I don't know whether I need to repeat myself, but this will be very, very clear. Anything, this is how you would decipher and separate between, true passion and just a transient or a fake passion. Transient in the sense that it's just for a main time. It's just a matter of time before it fades off. Once you see something that is superior, it just fades off. So if the reason why you think you are passionate about something is because of what you have to gain in it, it's not a true passion. That's what I mean. Sometimes it might be monetary value. Sometimes it might be social status or social values. Whatever it is, if it is self-driven interest that passion is associated with, is not a true passion. Because the last time I checked, your passion drive should be embedded and situated in selflessness. Should be situated in selflessness, not selfishness. Right? So this is how you would know. So when you look at the profile of all these people who are excelling, who are succeeding, is either of two things. Is either people who follow through this same principle of starting with selfless sacrifices through volunteering or any other means, whatever name you want to call it. They gave their all as a seed, first of all, in whatever it is they want to do. Sacrificially, they made themselves available, allowed the passion to drive them in that direction. And then after some years, sometimes it might mean that you have to trek, like in my case, you have to trek from one distance to the other for you to be able to catch up, for you to be able to get, like I was discussing with one of my protege over the weekend. I was like, okay, so what exactly it is now? So these are opportunities. Since you said this is what you're passionate about, this is opportunity. Can you just key into it and all of that? So that at least you can grow your strength in that direction. And guess one of the things that volunteering does for people? You learn how to optimize your weaknesses, because when you are paid to do things, you will not be pardoned when your weaknesses overshadow your strength. Hey, you people don't understand what I'm saying. When you don't allow your passion to be the drive that goes ahead of you, like the front wheel of your life, You either put it in the middle wheel or the back rear wheel. And whereas you put your self-driven interests ahead of you, at the end of the day, when your weaknesses begin to reveal, there are certain levels that you will never be part. In fact, you'll be crucified because of your revealed weaknesses, which will now become a real threat to either the business or because everybody, there is no perfect human being, at least at this level, no perfect human being revealed. There will always be that area of your life that will necessitate the revelation of your weaknesses and then threaten the goal or whatever it is that you are paid to do. So these are things that you need to come to terms with. So volunteering, very, very important, and you don't joke with it. My life, if I'm to assess and give account of how I lived so far, I can tell you for free, 90% of my achievement has been based on volunteering. 90%. Is it my businesses? Is it the orientation I have? Is it even the opportunities I have seized in life? Till this very, very moment, I'd always been based on volunteering. So at this stage of my life, I don't think there's anything that will take volunteering. In fact, I'll keep seeking more for opportunity because that's the central drive of everything that I'm doing. It's about volunteering. And you get to a point whereby the pursuit of these other things that need to take care of your bills will become inconsequential because naturally they will be taken care of. Naturally. It will just become like additional benefits to you, whatever it is. So I don't know if anybody connects with this, but this is just the reality of how things work. Okay, so time is fast spent. We are going to stop here so that I just show us some other tools. You have some other visual tools that you can do. I use this a whole lot too. You come to my house, you see some wall markers, you see inscriptions. Every year I have scriptural texts I embrace. I put them on my wall. I have them as sticker notes, in my car. I put them all around. The reason why visuals are very good, because we are humans. And that is why I told you that you have 5 gates. When you are able to command those gates, you are able to command those gates, then you are able to command your life. But if you lose the battle at those gates, you definitely lose the battle of your mind. And that's why visuals are very, very important. Whatever it is that goes through your eye, what you see on a daily basis, if they are positivism, if they are negativism, then they will determine what trajectory and direction your passion will drive you. So you need to ensure that you take inventory of your value system, you take inventory of your goals, which you are going to be achieving in this program. Make sure you convert them to visuals, things as simple as even just scribbling things down. Like, I love working with acronyms, right? Anything I want to do in life, even my life purpose, right from the very first day I embark on the journey of discovering my purpose, I put them into acronyms, spices. I think I will get to a point where I'll share some of these things with you too. SPICSS. That's just a summary of my own life purpose. So it helps and it gives you, it's not complex. So you don't need to complicate things. So that helps you to simplify life, simplify your pursuits, and gives much clarity that is needed for you to be able to embrace the right pursuit that you need to. Because when things are too complex, then it gives you this distraction in life. So we're going to stop here. I don't know if you have anything you want to share for all of us to gain it based on what I've shared with you. Don't forget, we are looking at you getting to self-aware. You want to discover yourself afresh or rediscover yourself, right? You need to know how to govern your emotions. You need to know how to govern your behavior. You need to know how to determine the right drives in the direction of your passion so that you'll be able to seize opportunity whenever the opportunity surfaces, because opportunity is leading in each moment of each day. So when people tell me, oh, I'm looking for opportunity is not too far away. It's right there where you are. It's just that you have not been able to connect with it. You can't see it. So you keep searching. And the easy way to search is to search from within. Know yourself, discover yourself, because every other answer lies therein. Thank you. So we're stopping here. Let me have some reflection from you. How does this apply to you, anyone? And what area do you think these have been helpful today?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for this session, sir. I really appreciate it, sir. So, hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Utsman. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So my own part is knowing the 4 parts of oneself. Seriously, when you mentioned the 4 parts, non-self, unknown self, blind self, and refused self, it flashed back to me that actually I have this I'll call it, let me just call it this speaking condition. It's not really, it's something that's very common among people. But when I was in secondary school, I didn't really count it. I just take it as a normal, as a normalcy. I didn't really see it as anything until I got admission my first year. The first, maybe I even say the guy I met. Okay, let me say yes. The first person I met, he had some issue with admission and stuff. So we submit at the admission office. Until there was a day he called me. So I was talking, I didn't hear me clearly. So when we met in school, he was telling me that, look at you, I called you. I was not even hearing what you were saying at all. I was just burning my airtime. So it's now flat back to me that this thing I have to take with levity. I need to take it seriously about myself. It's it's a weakness. It's a weakness. And that weakness is something I need to work up, I need to work on. So later on, so when I was trying to work on that, and you said something that when one knows one weakness, it makes one to optimize the unknown self. Like you need to, so it should make you want to work on knowing the unknown self, like working more better on oneself. So I observed that when I speak English, I don't really stammer. That's the speaking condition that that I have. But when I speak my native language, which is Yoruba, I tend to stammer more. Then I just count myself that I need to speak more of Yoruba more than speaking English. And then so with that, it makes me to learn more languages, more words in that particular my native language. So that is one thing that I can really relate with, that I can relate very well with this session. Thank you very much, sir.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Utsman. I'm glad that you're able to apply this to yourself. You know, you mentioned something that really touched part of my past experiences, which I want to briefly. I know time is fast spent, but let me just share this. It might help someone as we round up for today. I don't know how many of us have observed that I'm a stammerer. Please let me know if you have observed. I know some of you here has been with me for a while. So let me ask Bolanle, Demilade specifically. Are you hearing this for the first time? Do you know that I'm a stammerer? Please respond.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir. I actually did not know until one time you mentioned it when you were having a conversation.
Ah, okay. I've mentioned it to you before. What about you,
Yes.
Demilade? Did you perchance observe? Do you have an inclination? I'm a stammerer. I didn't say I was. I am a stammerer.
Wow.
You know what I'm telling you. You know, so when people tell you that, oh, I cannot change, this is who I am, you know the depth of their ignorance about themselves. It got to a point in my life that I was totally lost in that ignorance. That this is who I am. I was almost so comfortable and convenient in that shadow of the fact that, oh, I can't talk to people because I stammer. Do you know how God broke me and got me out of that quagmire? Was when I got admission into school. I was definitely going to be far away from home because God needed to take me out of my environment where I've been so limited. In fact, if I'm with my siblings, if I sit down with my parents, I can be in the house for a whole complete 1 year and I won't talk to anybody because I don't have that confidence to express because I stammer. Before I can make one step, oh my Jesus. That's who I used to be. And I remember vividly, my first encounter in public speaking was in my year 1. I didn't know where that confidence came from. In the midst of the multitude of students, there was an altar call that was called in, and they were like, who would do this for us and all of that? I just found myself out there and said, yes, I'm volunteering. I'm going to be the one that will lead and do this. And right there, they just gave me mic that I need to address everybody. I'm like, I was dazed. As in, I was dazed. And that was my deliverance. I didn't know how the confidence came. I didn't even know how I found the word for articulation. That was, I had to be asking people that, how did I perform? What did I say? I mean, I was mesmerized. I'm telling you, I'm not missing words. You can find out those that went to school with me, you know. I'm saying these just to buttress the fact that whatever it is that you think has been limiting you over the years, and you think that is who you are, you have not discovered yourself. And you shouldn't remain in that situation simply because you think you are not seeing opportunities for better life. Don't limit yourself. Just open up your mind. Open up your mind and take advantage of everything that crosses by, which the easy way to do that is through volunteering. It will connect you. Trust me, it will definitely connect you. Now, I mean, I do international speaking. Even if I look back and I stand to talk to people, either online, virtually, or in person, I will just remember that thing will flash to my mind. I was so timid about finding expression because I stammer to the point that when I'm walking, I remember in secondary school, because I was day student, when I'm going to school, there's a particular point along the pathway, and there's this fair lady that always stand by, watching. I will run. Once I sight the lady far away, I will run because she will always wait to greet me. So I don't want, because I don't know how to express myself. I don't know how to talk. I don't want people to laugh at me when I open my mouth because I stammer. I will run, and she will say, "But phew, I'm gone." Zoom. That was the kind of upbringing and the kind of life I had. And look at me today. I mean, I can stand in front of presidents of nations. I can, whoever I can stand and have my guts to express myself. Not because I've stopped stammering. You see what I mean? Not because I've stopped stammering. If you live in the same house with me, you will know at the point by which I stammer because I've been able to govern myself. When I'm so angry and anxious, when I'm so perplexed about situations, when I'm so frustrated about situations, you'll see the stammering come out of me and you'll be wondering, and I know. So, I mean, I was just like, guy, calm down, you know? So these are ways by which you need to self-aware. And if you're able to realize that now, you don't need to take too long time deep into your future before you get to that point where you begin to govern and realize yourself. Now I know, I mean, at the point when I discovered that, oh, okay, so it's because I'm always moody. It's because I'm always withdrawn to myself. It's because I'm highly introverted. That's why I will always stammer. Okay, I'll get out of my niche. I'm going to blow out of my cocoon. And that was my deliverance. So you just have to discover how you need to deliver yourself from those weaknesses. That's why I said it is an optimizer. Trust me, it will open your eyes. Once you open your mouth, it's going to open your eyes for you to see boundless opportunities where you need to break forth. It's like someone that is mining through the hard rock. Once you're able to break forth, you'll see water gush out and then push you to the highest level of your happenstance. So that's how it works with everyone. And trust me, it's definitely going to work with you too once you lay hands on some of these things. Thank you. So we'll stop here. It's already 15 minutes past the hour. Let's keep the conversation going, maximize opportunity in the group. If there are things you still need to share, please feel free, share them there in the group. Even if it's going to be by voice notes, I'm definitely going to respond and use my personal life experiences to share some of these points to you for you to be able to drive it home. Thank you so much for the evening. We'll catch you again tomorrow. And watch out for the assignment I'm going to share with you. And of course, the personality test that you're going to take via I'm going to share the link so that you all take it before you come in tomorrow because I want to see the results.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You most welcome. So catch you tomorrow.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
some of you didn't talk. Please, tomorrow I want to hear you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good night. Have a nice rest.
You too. Bye.
Okay.